You do not need to wait all season for your first harvest. These 7 Chinese kitchen vegetables can give you shoots, leaves, stems, or roots in 3 to 8 weeks. And number 1 is often ready in under a month. Hi, I'm May from May's Chinese Garden. Let's begin with number 7. Number 7 is geilan, also known as Chinese broccoli. Geilan gives you thick, tender stems, broad leaves, and small clusters of flower buds. It tastes similar to broccoli, but slightly stronger and a little more bitter. Many varieties can produce their first useful stems in around 6 to 8 weeks. The exact timing will depend on the variety, temperature, and amount of light. So treat that as a realistic window rather than a fixed promise. Sow the seeds about 1/4 to half an inch deep in fertile soil. That is roughly 6 millimeters to 1 centimeter. Once the seedlings are established, thin them to around 6 to 8 inches apart, unless your seed packet recommends more space. Keep the soil evenly moist. Geilan can become tough if it repeatedly dries out and then receives a large amount of water. The key is to harvest before the yellow flowers fully open. When the main stem has a useful thickness and the flower buds are formed, but still closed, cut several inches below the buds. Leave a few healthy lower leaves on the plant, and it may produce smaller side shoots for another harvest. The common mistake is waiting for a bigger stem. If it bends instead of snapping cleanly and feels fibrous, it was probably left too long. With geilan, tender and slightly smaller is better than large and woody. Number 6 is daikon radish. Daikon takes a little more patience, but fast varieties can produce usable roots in approximately 5 to 8 weeks. The young leaves are also edible, although taking too many will slow the root beneath them. Sow daikon directly where it will grow. Moving the seedlings later can disturb the main root and affect its shape. Before sowing, loosen the soil and remove stones and hard clumps. A deep container also works, but it must have drainage holes and enough depth for the variety you choose. Short daikon varieties are much easier in containers than the very long types. Plant the seeds about half an inch deep. Once they germinate, thin them to the spacing on the packet. Please do not skip this step. Several seedlings squeezed together will not make one large radish. They will simply restrict one another. Keep the soil consistently moist, especially while the roots are swelling. Long dry periods followed by heavy watering can reduce their quality. When the shoulder of the root appears above the soil and reaches a useful width, loosen the soil and pull one as a test. If it is crisp and well formed, begin harvesting the others. If it is still narrow, leave the rest for a little longer. Do not keep mature daikon in the ground just because it can grow larger. An overgrown root may become pithy, tough, or much stronger in flavor. Number 5 is choy sum, sometimes called yu choy sum or Chinese flowering cabbage. Choy sum is grown for its tender stems, leaves, flower buds, and small yellow flowers. Depending on the variety and conditions, the first harvest may arrive in around 30 to 50 days. Sow the seeds about 1/4 of an inch deep and keep the soil moist while they germinate. Thin the seedlings so the remaining plants have room to build strong stems. Some varieties are harvested very young while others become much larger, so use the final spacing on your packet as your guide. Choy sum grows best with good light, fertile soil, and steady moisture. Heat and dry soil can push a small plant into flowering before it has produced a worthwhile stem. Unlike bok choy, flowering is not automatically a problem here. The flower buds are part of the harvest. You simply need to catch them at the right stage. Harvest when the stems are tender, most of the buds are still closed, and perhaps 1 or 2 yellow flowers have opened. Cut the main stem above the lower leaves. Those leaves may support a few smaller side shoots. The mistake is waiting until the plant is tall and covered in open flowers. It may still look attractive, but the main stem will usually be less tender. Harvest for eating, not for the biggest looking plant. Number 4 is tatsoi. Tatsoi forms a beautiful low rosette of dark spoon-shaped leaves. The young leaves are mild enough for salads, while larger leaves can be cooked like spinach or added to soups and stir-fries. A mature rosette often takes around 40 to 50 days, but you can begin taking baby leaves earlier. That gives you a choice, a quick, light harvest now, or a larger plant later. Sow the seeds shallowly and keep the surface moist while they germinate. For baby leaves, the plants can be fairly close. For full rosettes, thin them to around 8 to 10 inches apart. The healthy thinnings can go straight into a salad rather than into the compost. Tatsoi prefers cool weather. It can cope with cold surprisingly well once established, but hot weather may cause it to bolt. For many gardeners, spring and late summer sowings are easier than planting in the hottest part of the year. For repeat harvests, take the largest outer leaves and leave the small center untouched. If you want the whole rosette, gather the leaves gently and cut through the base with a clean knife. The mistake is planting one large batch and allowing every plant to mature at the same time. Sow a small amount every 2 weeks, and you will have a steadier supply of tender leaves instead of more tatsoi than you can use in one weekend. Number 3 is bok choy. Bok choy is popular for good reason. It grows quickly, works in beds and containers, and can be harvested as baby leaves, small heads, or mature plants. Baby bok choy can be ready in roughly 30 days, while full heads need longer. Choose a variety described as baby or compact if speed is your priority. Sow the seeds 1/4 to 1/2 inch deep. For baby plants, leave around 3 to 4 inches between them. For full heads, many varieties need 10 to 12 inches. Keep the soil evenly moist and grow it during cool, steady weather whenever possible. Heat, dry soil, overcrowding, and sudden temperature changes can all place the plant under stress and encourage bolting. For an early harvest, remove a few of the largest outer leaves and leave the small center growing. If you want the whole head, cut it at the base while it is compact and tender, before a flower stalk rises through the middle. The common mistake is waiting for every bok choy to resemble the largest one in a shop. Your variety and conditions may produce a smaller plant, and waiting too long can turn a good harvest into a flowering one. In my next guide, I'll show you exactly how to prevent bok choy from bolting, because this one problem can ruin an otherwise healthy crop. Number 2 is Chinese mustard greens, often called gai choy. If you enjoy a little heat in your greens, this is a very useful crop. The young leaves have a fresh mustard bite. As the leaves become larger, the flavor and texture usually grow stronger. Baby leaves may be ready in about 3 to 5 weeks. Larger plants take longer, and the final size varies greatly between varieties. Sow the seeds shallowly in fertile, well-drained soil. Keep the soil evenly moist and thin the seedlings before they become badly crowded. For larger plants, follow the spacing on your packet because some varieties remain compact while others become surprisingly big. You can pick individual outer leaves or cut young plants just above the soil. Here is the simplest way to choose the right harvest time. Taste one leaf. If it has the tenderness and level of heat you enjoy, begin picking. The plant does not need to reach an arbitrary size first. Dry conditions and delayed harvesting can leave you with tougher leaves and a much stronger flavor than you expected. Small succession sowings every couple of weeks are more useful than one crowded row that becomes ready all at once. And number 1 is pea shoots, also known as dumiao. These are the tender growing tips of pea plants. They taste fresh and slightly sweet, and they can be ready in around 3 to 4 weeks. Under good conditions, some growers begin harvesting in about 24 days. You do not need a garden bed or a deep pot. Use a tray or container with drainage holes and fill it with a moisture-retentive potting mix. Sow edible pea seeds about 1 inch deep. Because you are growing shoots instead of plants for pea pods, the seeds can be closer together than ordinary garden peas. They should be close but not piled on top of one another. A little air between the stems helps reduce problems in a damp tray. Keep the mix evenly moist and place the container somewhere bright and cool. Peas prefer cooler conditions and may struggle in intense heat. When the shoots are around 6 to 8 inches tall, cut the tender top few inches just above a pair of leaves. Leave some healthy leaves behind, and the plants may produce smaller side shoots for a second cutting. Do not wait for long, impressive vines. You are harvesting tenderness, not height. Once the stems become fibrous, you have missed the best eating stage, so which one should you grow first? Choose according to the part you want to eat. For the fastest tender shoots, choose peas. For quick baby leaves, try mustard greens, bok choy, or tatsoi. For crisp stems and flower buds, grow choy sum or gaylan. If you would rather pull a root from the soil, choose a fast daikon variety. Start with 1 or 2 crops, not all 7. Use fresh seed. Write down the sowing date. And remember that every harvest window is an estimate. Variety, temperature, sunlight, spacing, and watering will change the speed. Tell me in the comments which vegetable you would grow first, and subscribe for my next guide, where I'll show you how to prevent bok choy from bolting and keep harvesting tender leaves.